Imagine being an NBA player coming off a season where you put up 25 and 5, you've got springs for legs and endless range, and yet no one wants you, not even your own team. Such is the case of Chicago Bulls guard Zach LaVine. What the hell is going on in Chicago, and where is this talented player going to land? I'm Trevor Lane. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications as well. Zach LaVine at one point was a big part of the Bulls' future. It was LaVine, it was Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic. They were an exciting group and a lot of fun to watch. But now it's a new era, and the Bulls are ready to hand the reins over to a young group, a group that includes players like Kobe White, the newly drafted Montes Buzelis. You've got Josh Giddey, who they just acquired via trade in a deal for Alex Caruso. They've got players like Ayo Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, Jalen Smith. They just picked up in free agency. These are the young players that the Bulls want to hand the reins over to. The problem is, part of the old guard, including LaVine, is still sticking around. DeMar DeRozan is already gone, exiled to Sacramento earlier in the summer. Lonzo Ball is hoping to make a comeback after missing multiple seasons, but the big piece that the Bulls hope to move on from is Zach LaVine. He is an incredibly talented player, shoots the ball well from deep, can score from all three levels, is a breathtaking athlete. So why doesn't anyone want LaVine? There's no question that many teams could use his talents. Well, there's two big problems with Zach LaVine right now. Number one is health. He only played 25 games last season and had foot surgery just weeks before the trade deadline. Probably didn't make the Bulls very happy, especially when a recent ESPN report revealed that the Bulls were hoping that LaVine would just rehab his foot and not go ahead and have surgery, effectively ending his season. Not great when the club doesn't want you to have surgery to begin with, and then you get it done just weeks before the trade deadline, eliminating any possibility of them from moving you. Now you've got teams who would potentially be interested in Zach LaVine. They haven't seen him play since the middle of last season. He may need to step foot on the floor, despite reports that he's 100%, and prove it that he can play the way he used to. But the other part, and perhaps the bigger issue here, it's his contract. You see, Zach LaVine is paid like a top-tier talent, and he is incredibly talented, make no mistake. But he's not a top-tier guy. He's getting $140 million over the next 3 seasons. Yes, 2 seasons ago, he ranked 15th in the NBA in scoring. He dropped 25 points per game. But there's no question that Zach LaVine is not on the same level as guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka, Jokic, any of these players. That is not what Zach LaVine is, and yet he is paid to be a 1A player on the Chicago Bulls. And the new collective bargaining agreement is incredibly intolerant of players getting overpaid. Teams are very wary of giving out too much money and too many years to players. Gone are the days of max contracts simply being passed out. No, now teams have to be very careful who they give these deals to. So the fact that Zach LaVine has 3 years left under contract, with the third year being a player option, and that much money on the books, that $140 million, there's a lot of teams that deal is simply a non-starter. Now, if Zach LaVine was a true 1A guy, no problem. But realistically, if your team's going to win a championship, Zach LaVine probably needs to be your third best player, but that's not what he's being paid as. So Zach LaVine would like to move on from the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls would like to move on from him. But no one in the NBA is willing to trade for him. And this has created plenty of tension between the player and the club. In fact, in an ESPN report, it was mentioned that LaVine feels singled out in film sessions by the Chicago Bulls. Well, let me tell you this. Guess what, Zach? When you're getting paid that much money, you tend to have higher responsibilities. That money isn't given out for nothing. The expectations of you are going to go up. So if you're not quite up to par out on the floor, you should be the first guy singled out when you're making the amount of money that Zach LaVine is. That said, a Bulls team source sounded less than thrilled with LaVine as well, telling ESPN he's never won, he's done it this way his whole way, and never won. If he's interested in winning, he'll do what's asked of him. And if he's motivated to not be here, one way is to come, be compliant, and be who he is. And that is really the crux of the situation. Right now, with zero trade market for Zach LaVine, he's stuck in Chicago. The Bulls want to move on to the new generation, but there is only one way to get out of this situation, and that's to step foot on the court and play basketball. Zach LaVine is going to have to play for the Bulls and play well enough to attract the attention of another club. Meanwhile, the Bulls are going to have to grit their teeth and accept that for the time being, Zach LaVine is going to take away shots from some of the young players the Bulls would like to develop. How long the Bulls will be willing to tolerate the situation remains to be seen. There's no question the Bulls don't want to trade future draft capital just in order to move off of Zach LaVine's deal, which is the way things currently stand. But how well does Zach have to play, and for how long, to get another team to be interested in trading for him? Until that happens, we're going to be stuck in this very awkward, very messy situation where Zach LaVine wants out of Chicago. Chicago wants him gone as well. But for now, the two sides are stuck together. Everybody, let me know, where will Zach LaVine ultimately land? At some point, he's going to get traded. Where does he go? Give me your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.